Well, where do we start? I'm very excited to welcome you here today. You're my very, very first guest
I'm honoured, Liz. I'm
on
honoured.
the Twitch.
No, I am
I
honoured.
thought,
Thank you.
who could I possibly start this show with that is very well known, but dare I say, not very often seen
Yes, good
out there?
description. Good description. I don't like to hog the limelight, as they say. I like to, be behind the scenes a little bit, creating the content and the paper and the site that we do. So yeah, I am. I'm that sort of person. Really, I always have been. I think I don't. I'm not a kind of. I would never be a broadcaster. I don't think. I was in my career. I was always a newspaper man. So face for radio, as they say.
Well, we better introduce you, Pete Leydon,
Yeah.
Nantwich News,
Yes.
Nantwich Life, and a journalist through and through.
Yes, for 35 years
Oh, you
now.
don't look old enough.
Oh, thank you, Liz. Yes, yeah, it's a long time, long career, but I love it. I still love it.
Yeah.
The whole premise of storytelling was something I fell in love with at the age of 15 when I went to
Yeah.
the Congleton Chronicle for a work experience
Great.
week when I was at Sandbach Boys School a long time ago. And I just loved the idea of newspapers and telling stories and getting out and about and meeting people. And and I've never kind of looked back, really.
Right. Where did you go after Chronicle? And that was purely work experience,
That was
so a
just
couple of weeks.
work experience, yeah. So very, very quick sort of summary. Obviously, I did a degree, but there was no journalism degrees back then. So I did it in communication studies in Coventry University and had a great 3 years there. Then did what's called a postgrad certificate in newspaper journalism at the time, which was in Sheffield in 1991, and passed my NCTJ qualifications, which are the kind of newspaper industry qualifications. And got a job. My first job was at a newspaper called South Yorkshire Times in Mexborough in South Yorkshire, and they were a weekly paper that had editions from Mexborough, sort of Doncaster area, Rotherham area, around there, and had a couple of years there and loved it. And then moved on from there to Newcastle Chronicle for a number of years, big city newspaper up there, and I was there for 6 years, I think. Then I moved across to Cumbria and then to Preston and Lancashire. So yeah, a bit of all over the place, really.
Okay.
Yeah, varied. Northern boy though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, one of the questions I'm going to ask everybody on this podcast is dabber. Are you original or honorary?
I'm an honorary dabber because I wasn't born here. I was born in Stockport.
Oh, okay.
So I'm an honorary Cheshire person, if you like. Born in Stockport. My parents sort of moved around in the northwest a little bit, and we settled in Sandbach when I
Okay.
was 9 years old. And I went to Sandbach Offaly Juniors and then Sandbach Boys School. It is obviously I had spent all my school years there. Did my A-levels at Sandbach Boys School until 1988, and then graduated and I went to Coventry University straight from there. So I grew up in sort of South Cheshire and in my teen years, the important years, I guess. You meet all your friends and you get familiar with the towns and villages around, and still love the place, And my wife Kay, she was born in Crewe. She grew up in Shappington, so again, she's sort of from these parts, really. So yeah, very familiar.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't born in Nantwich itself. Yeah.
Was it always sort of local that you wanted to be in, local journalism you wanted to be involved in?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I had opportunities to go to nationals, and I did some freelance work when I was younger reporter for some of the tabloids. Won't name them, but that's when you're young and ambitious. You look to the next step in your career. But I think I just love the idea of that local, regional sort of journalism where you make better contacts and you become a part of the community. I think you're more respected as well. I think a lot of the community and readership love to have that attachment to local journalists and their outlets, and I did find that particularly in Newcastle Chronicle. It was the Bible up there back
Oh,
in the 90s.
absolutely. Yeah, got friends from Tynemouth.
Yeah,
It's absolutely the Chronicle. Was it Wednesday it was out, or
well,
Friday?
it was a daily.
Oh, it was a daily, yes,
back
of
then. It
course.
was a
Yeah,
daily
yeah.
back then. It was every day.
Yeah.
I think we had. It was 6 days a week. So it was on a Saturday as well, and we had at the height of it in the 90s. It was 7 editions a day. So you'd have a morning edition, then you'd have the Gateshead, Tynemouth, different areas of the northeast, and then you'd have the late final, which was 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon.
Wow!
So you're literally working from
Goodness gracious
6
me.
in the morning through till sort of 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening, putting out stories and reacting to big breaking news. But it's great, and when you're young and ambitious, loved it. And it's a great city.
Yeah, absolutely.
To grow up, to live in, and to experience. I liken it a lot to Liverpool. I think the cities are very similar.
A very passionate community as well.
Hugely
about
passionate.
where they're from.
Yeah, hugely
their
passionate.
football, obviously.
Their football, they love their city, but they also love their local paper in that sense. They always saw the paper as as the Bible in that sense. If it was in there, that it
Oh,
was
definitely.
true.
With my uncle, I remember he used to always Chronicle. Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it was great days. Really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, then moved from there obviously to Cumbria. Lived in Cumbria for a little bit, near the South Lakes,
Nice.
the little town called Ulverston, which is a really
Uh-huh.
pretty little town. And me and my wife, we got married actually while we were living there, and we had our first child while we were
Oh,
living in the lakes. So that was when we were in our early 30s, so a long time ago. And then yeah, just sort of moved from there. Really, ended up at university. I did my first bit of university stuff in 2004 at Salford. They were advertising for somebody to do some part-time sort of lecturing in their new journalism course. And I was based kind of in Lancashire at that point. So I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. I've not tried anything like that before, a bit of teaching. I was a bit nervous, but I went along, did a couple of guest sessions, and they really thought it was good. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the feedback from the students. And then when the first full-time job came up at Salford, I applied and I was lucky enough to get it. And that was probably 2005, something like that.
great.
So 20 odd years ago. And then I moved then through 2 or 3 different universities. But I always wanted to stay in local news in the sense and keep practicing it, because I think that's so important in an
Absolutely.
industry like this. You've got to keep at the sharp end,
Yeah, yeah.
because you soon forget it. You soon lose those skills. So I launched Nantwich News in 2009, just as a local blog, when those sort of very basic blog
Yeah,
templates were out, you
yeah,
remember? So just like, was that same 17 years ago, something like that?
yeah,
But I soon found in Nantwich that there was nothing else like that.
yeah.
All we had was the Nantwich Chronicle, which, we can talk about that later if you want. But there was nothing else. And,
Yeah,
and I soon found that there was an audience, an online audience was
definitely.
cropping up. And then obviously, the rest is history, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we set Redshift up in 2010. I moved up here actually from down south in 2008. The nine was my first full year living in Nantwich, and I know that your website became on the radar then,
Yeah.
for local what's going on and stuff. It's literally just grown and grown and grown and grown. It must be so
Yeah.
proud.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. Yeah, I am proud of it. I think it's a labour of love, as they say, because it takes a lot of hours every week, every day, keeping on top of it. You can't do every single story. It's never been enough. I've never wanted to expand it so much that it becomes like a big business with
Mm,
employing loads of people, because I didn't have the time to do that
yeah,
really. And it was only really, I would say, 2014 when we redesigned it with David, our web guy, David Proctor, great guy, again, local in Nantwich. He helped me redesign it with a different template, and it allowed us to attract some advertising. So then the advertising picked up from
yeah,
2014 onwards, which allowed us to get a bit of revenue, and put a few more hours into it, host it in a better way, and pay for development of the site. And yeah, and it's really grown quite big since then, in that sense, as a kind of, it brings some money in, but obviously we spend a lot of that, to make sure that we keep on top of it, and we pay for some photography and various other things.
you've got a lot of contributors to the website. How does it work? Well, and also we'll come on to the Natural Life and the newspaper as well. But how
Mm.
do you work with local writers, and how can
Yeah,
people get content to you?
it's great. We're so grateful for all the people that do contribute, because we've never really been in a position to pay. But what we have been in a position to do is to offer them opportunities to attend events for free as a kind of member of the press,
Yeah,
local press. So we do have, Claire does a lot of reviews for us. Jonathan White's brilliant.
brilliant,
Sees,
absolutely fantastic.
Jonathan
Yeah,
very well.
yeah.
His photos, and he's becoming better at writing stories as well. Excuse me. And we've had one or two others as well who've contributed sports stories and local news. So anybody can contribute. If they message us on our normal email address, editor at the Nantwich News, we will obviously get in touch with them. We have young, sort of up and coming, sort of 18-year-olds who are looking for a bit of work experience. We don't have the infrastructure. We're not a newsroom in that sense. We
Mm-hmm.
have to work from home, and so we can't offer them that newsroom experience, but we can try and offer them a chance to get published,
Yeah, yeah,
and get a byline on the
yeah.
website and the newspaper. And I think that's really important for
Really
young
important.
people coming
Absolutely.
through to
Yeah,
see their name in print, really, in
definitely.
that sense. And it gives you that buzz and that incentive
Yeah.
to do well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember some of the students we had from your university when I was at Redshift, and it was great to be able to give them, well, so many of our volunteers at Redshift Radio were students that either came from yourself or from another university or college setting, a lot
Yeah.
from Cheshire College, but giving that real life experience that when they then go on to university or go and get their first job, they're like, yeah, that's what I talked about more than the course, the actual work experience time and the real life, being able to demonstrate that I've written something or produced something or
Yeah.
whatever. It's so important for young people.
Absolutely, and for many of them, if they're on a degree and they do a couple of years and then they go on the placement, it dawns on them why they've been learning
Yeah.
what they've been learning, and they can put it into practice in an external environment, not in the newsroom in the university, and then they get feedback, from mentors in the workplace and an audience. And we've had a couple of people who've been to Reseath College to help with the press team there, for example, and they've all come back and said it's been fantastic. So those local sort of contacts, with yourself and people like that are really important to offer those opportunities, because unfortunately the local newsrooms, the traditional mainstream newsrooms, are shrinking and closing. While one door is shutting, we've got to try and maintain those opportunities in other ways, for young would-be journalists, because despite the criticism that we get, sometimes probably justified, sometimes not, I think it's so important that we have good trained journalists in this country to root out stories and to tell the truth,
Yeah.
and particularly to hold those authorities to account,
Yeah.
and you can only have to see some of the big stories we're looking at now, whether it's the Epstein files or
Yeah.
or some of the political sort of cover-ups and the corruption that journalists have uncovered play a hugely important role in the way we live, in this country in particular.
Let's go on to the Nantwich Life. Give
The
us a
the
a
newspaper.
flash of the
Yeah,
newspaper.
this is the January edition. The February one is out in about 3 days' time.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's
We
a monthly.
publish, is it a year now?
It's 18 months.
Is it really? Oh
Yes, I
gosh,
know,
crikey.
unbelievable.
Wow.
We did a pilot edition in August 2024.
How lovely, brilliant.
And it featured the Nantwich show as well on the
Yes,
front.
yeah.
You remember that, and the pictures inside from the Nantwich show at the end of July. And we distributed about 400 or 500 of that pilot edition just to get a bit of feedback. We tested the ground, as they say, and they loved it. Said, yeah, we'll take this, we'll stock this. Our customers will love it. So we went from there, and obviously the first full edition was September that year, 2024, to 2,500 copies we got printed, and we started to build the stockists list. And yeah, not looked back since. So we're 18 months in, really. So yeah, February edition is out this week. We kept it monthly for now, 32 pages a monthly, just to sort of make sure that it beds in, if you like, to the town and the area. People become used to it. I think, yeah, this is great. And we may expand to larger pagination or more often, make it bi-monthly or something like that. So we'll see where we go with it. We've got different plans and different things in the pipeline. But yeah, we've got around 40, I think it's 40 regular stockists now.
Brilliant.
You've taken it. I mean, if on page 2, you can see all the full list of stockists.
Yeah.
I mean, we always list it on page 2, as well as the advertisers, because again, it's just a thank you. I think we think that's really important.
Just some shout outs.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of great places. I mean, all the big places in, Nantwich Civic Hall have been great with us, and the market there.
Berries over in
museum.
Renbury, that's where I normally pick mine up.
Berries in Renbury, yeah.
Yeah.
The Bertie in Aston.
Yeah.
The co-op shops have been lovely with us. So Audlem, Sharrington, Stapley, Bunbury, they all take them. Yeah, they're really, really good, because we wanted to get it out to the villages as not just the town.
Yeah.
Because we felt that having spoken to a few other independent sort of news groups who do something similar across the UK, they felt that it was helping to tackle isolation as well in the rural areas. A lot of older people who might not get access to the town don't really want to use the internet. So one way of keeping in touch with what's going on in their community is through a paper. Always was, wasn't it? Before the internet. So we definitely bought into that and thought, yeah, that's great. We want to make sure we're out to Audlem and to Renbury and to Wurleston and and wherever we go, and Bunbury and Wibbenbury, all these sort of smaller villages, and they've really bought into it. They really bought into it, and that's nice, and quite often they'll drop us a message to say, oh, we've run out, can you drop some more off? So that side of it's really nice, keeping people informed. We had the mobile library take stuff out, which is great. So Tom at the Nantwich Library, Tom, he was really good with us. Ben at Right at Home as well, and Tina at
Great.
Shore Care. Their carers take them out to their care
Great.
people that
Yeah,
they
yeah,
look
yeah.
after in those rural areas. So we're making sure
Yeah.
that that paper gets
I bet
distributed.
Steve and Denise at the bookshop will take it out on their
Yes.
boat on their
Yeah,
book bus that's
the
coming
book
soon.
bus. Yeah,
Yeah,
exciting that, isn't it? Yeah, they've taken them in the shop, so I'm sure they
yeah,
will.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a really good idea. So I think that's something that we're quite proud of doing in a sense, making sure that people stay connected.
Does it differ from the Nantwich News website? Is it similar content, same
There's
content?
a bit of both. Yeah, there's a bit of both. There's some similar content, but there's certain stories that we keep back for the newspaper, particularly picture spreads, because obviously you can display pictures so much nicer
Yeah,
in print form. So we do a lot of double page spreads, pictures or down memory lane sort of pictures as well. Quite often the page three story might be a bit different because it's a bit quirky. We might do like a profile piece. We did one recently of the two girls at shelter in Nantwich who've known each other for 55
yeah.
years. We just felt that really worked nicely in print. That we didn't do it. We didn't do it online because it just doesn't have that same feel. And I went into the shop recently and they framed the full page
Oh, great.
and put it on the wall.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's so lovely that. So
Yeah,
yeah, but obviously there's stories that we feel they need to be in both because not everybody will read the website and some people will just only read the paper. That and that's again, it's that editorial judgment. What do we need to put in here that's important, as well as what do we need to save back
yeah.
just for the paper.
Now, people often ask me, do I ever sleep? I'm going to ask you, do you ever sleep? Your full-time role at the university, Liverpool John Moores now.
Liverpool John Moores University, shout out to those. I mean, I love it at Liverpool. I teach postgrad students. I run a postgrad course there, MA in sports journalism, but I teach on the journalism stuff, news and sport really. I sleep, not a huge number of hours, but it's like you, Liz, isn't it? I think you've got a passion for something.
Yeah,
I've never been a big sleeper, and I think as soon as I got into newspapers, particularly the regionals, you're up early because you need to be on the ball.
yeah, yeah,
So my alarm used to go off at 5:30 when I was in Newcastle. I was in the newsroom at 6. So you're looking at kind of living off about 5 hours sleep each
yeah,
night. But your body kind of get used to
yeah,
that a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
And in many ways, I don't lie in, even when I can lie in.
No,
I'm just too sort of, I'm ready for stuff. So, but no, I sleep well. The university is great because, the peaks and troughs with that. Obviously, it's busy during those sort of busy semester times, but I get a bit of extra time in the summer periods and things like that where I can just take it back a little bit. I go in 2 or 3 days a week to Liverpool. On the days I don't lecture, I can do some work from home. So that allows me to do all the bits and bobs. The university is good in the sense that they like you to be still in touch with the industry. And if you're a practicing lecturer in that sense, then they view that as a good thing,
definitely.
because you're bringing those skills as well to the classroom. So
I think that's really important across so many subjects at
Mm.
university. I remember doing my degree in multimedia design and computing multiple decades ago, shall we say, when
Yeah.
that was a big a thing. Web design was a new thing. But we had lecturers that were great because they were in the industry and they were
Yeah.
living it and breathing it. And then I did a course a few years later, and the lecturers were using old tech and
Mm.
old stuff because they weren't in the industry anymore. And
No.
it was such a letdown because
Mm.
just, 5 or 6 years on from my first degree, you're like, "Oh, crikey, this is not actually teaching me anything new because
No.
you're using what I learned 6 years
Yeah,
ago."
yeah, yeah. You've not moved on. We all know the technology now, in particular, is so
Mm,
advanced, and
absolutely.
and you've got to keep on top of it all the time. The what we do is a real blend of that traditional kind of news gathering
Yeah.
as a journalist, as a reporter, but also using all the technology at your hands, the social media stuff. AI is now the big
Well, I
the
was
big
going to ask
the
you.
big
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
in terms of we're teaching the how to use it in a certain way that's advantageous, but also the care you need to take around it and verification and checking facts and things like that. So yeah, it's always moving and you can't sit back, and it's not that sort of industry. So, and I've definitely learned new skills through doing what I do with Nantwich News, and
What do you
which is
think,
nice.
if you look back over your career, what's been the biggest shift? Is that going from the paper to online, or now from online for you back to the paper, or the AI, the technology? What is it that's been a big
Well, I think the biggest impact is definitely the move to the internet. I think that happened in sort of 2001,
yeah.
something like that. because I remember I was at Lancashire Evening Post and I was the news editor there at the time, and suddenly we had this, oh, you've got to put a couple of stories on this kind of rubbishy little web page that was created now, but just put it on there. And we just paid it lip service because the paper was still the thing. But within a couple of years,
Yeah.
suddenly the internet, you could just see, and you could see the impact it was going to have on papers. And people, then the phones, obviously, the smartphone is the other thing. I think the smartphone and how that has developed, the technology around 4G, 5G, and what a phone can now do. I think it's probably just has as big an impact as well, because you can get everything on this little device. Who needs papers anymore? Who needs books? So I think that had a huge impact on the print industry. The print industry struggled to adapt to that. A lot of mainstream companies, in my view, have just not adapted to it and decided, "Oh, well, listen, we're not selling the papers anymore. Let's just not bother with the paper." And so you can see the way the sales have plummeted in newspapers because they've not put any resources into it. And so all the resources are now going online and digital, trying to get clicks and hits, and therefore revenue from those areas and apps and things like that. So, which is a real shame, because I'm a newspaper
Yeah,
guy at heart,
absolutely, yeah.
and I don't
But
like
it's a
seeing.
good time for me to ask you and test you on your numbers. Where are you up to with your regular on the website, which you
Oh,
can track
I did.
regular
I
readers,
did an
biggest
analytic.
hit?
Oh, crikey, the biggest hits. You are testing me. I think in 2025, I think we had just short of 3 million page
Wow,
views.
amazing.
We had around 750,000 unique users throughout the year.
Incredible.
So each month we're looking at around sort of 80 to 90,000 uniques, and around 150,000, 170,000 page views each month.
Incredible.
And there's some weeks are just crazy. I think one week we had over 200,000 hits because we had a couple of really big stories, and it's sometimes the stories that you don't expect as well, that really sort of take off. Yeah,
Those numbers, so let's think, so 90,000, how many unique hits in one
unique users will be
users
the individual people from different IP addresses visiting the site.
in a year?
So we had 750,000 a year.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
With a
so
population of Nantwich of
yeah,
17,000. So
yeah.
you're literally being picked up,
Crew
certainly nationally.
from Manchester, London. You think of the number of people who have an affiliation
Yes,
to this
exactly.
area.
I find that with
Yeah.
Nantwich Info, actually, they've moved away or their
Mm,
families still live here, but
yeah.
and you just see it with the comments that come up
Mm,
when you put in a nice photo on of a pub.
yeah.
I think the biggest hit we had was the Vine on Hospital Street. Oh, I remember that
Yeah.
place, and I remember this, and I
Yeah.
remember that. And it's fab.
It's the memories that it
Isn't it?
generates,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
It is great. And, I think from memory, I think our approximately 10% of our audience is abroad.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
kind of expats, people who live in
absolutely.
America,
Yeah,
Australia, Spain, who are keeping in touch with South Cheshire, and it's Nantwich and its Crewe and all the villages around as well. So Nantwich has around 17, 18,000, but then you've got all those other villages
yeah.
around. So you've got a population of 40 odd thousand.
Absolutely.
And then obviously you can think of all the people who used to live here and now live somewhere else, but have family or friends. So yeah, you can see why the audience is. But sometimes, I remember a story in COVID, it's going back a bit, where we did a story. It was with Stephen Misford and his company about PPE. And it was a really good story. Stephen, spoke to Stephen about how in fact, his help was kind of rejected by the government at the time in terms of sourcing stuff. And we ran this story, and it was a really good story, got a lot of hits. Yeah, 2020, 21, whenever it was. And The Guardian picked it up. So The Guardian ran it nationally, but referred to Nantwich News in the story. And the number of referrals we got from just that story,
Yeah,
probably over 100,000,
right.
just from the Guardian story to our website. So again, you get a lot of traffic that might not be Nantwich, but we've been linked to a story somewhere else because we've covered it. Yeah, it's amazing actually, and just how much it's grown. But we've still got that core regular number of visitors, because analytics is great because it shows you how many are just a one hit wonder, but actually how many are coming back week after week, day after day, and we've still got a real good, strong core of those who are regular readers.
Before we finish, just tell us how people can advertise with you in online and the paper. What are the options there?
Great. Well, yes, in the paper we've got, at the minute, we're offering 3 sizes of adverts: quarter, half and full pages. We do deals for people who support us to help us plan long term with the paper. So if you take out 12 months or 12 editions, then you get a better deal than doing it for like 3 editions, for example. We've got a full rate card which we're putting on the website. We're just updating it for 2026, but we're a bit late.
By the time this podcast goes
Oh,
out,
exactly.
it'll
Yeah,
be
yeah,
ready.
yeah. People can email Nantwich Life at the nantwichnews.co.uk for print inquiries. Online, again, we offer some digital banners, various sizes, various prices depending on how long you want and the size you want. And there's a full media pack online, but again, anybody who wants to get in touch can just email sales at the nantwichnews.co.uk. But again, we welcome as many local businesses as we can. Helps us to sustain what we do, and plan for the future, and hopefully bring in more contributors, and maybe hopefully pay as well for people to send in content. So yeah, please do get in touch.
You've got some regular long-termers, haven't you? You've
We
got,
have.
we mentioned that, think about IT. I know
Yeah.
Paul always advertises
Paul's,
with you.
Paul's brilliant. He's been with us a long, long time, so I think the Lycemic crew have always advertised with us as well. Hibberts in Nantwich have. They're great. So there's a number, and we've got some new companies coming on board recently. Apple Blinds, Richard Apple Blinds, he's been advertising with us for a couple of years. Ben, right at home, Sean at Whitegates, they're great, and they've invested in us and they've supported us over a number of years. And I like to think that they feel like they're getting the benefit from that exposure, but we obviously thank them a lot for their support for us as well, because it enables us to continue what we do.
One last question about Nantwich, and I ask this to all the people I interview. What does Nantwich mean to you as a town?
Nantwich to me, it means a lot, and it's very difficult to answer in one line. But it's basically where we've built our life, and it has everything. It offers everything for a good life. I think we came here because we knew it would be great for our kids. The schools are brilliant. Town, the community is lovely. Our parents still live in South Cheshire. We've got some amazing friendships now in Nantwich. It means it was a life-changing decision to move to Nantwich 20-something years ago after being all around the country. So yeah, life-changing for us, and we don't want to live anywhere else.
That absolutely resonates with me, coming up here 18 years ago for the very same feelings, really. Another question for you. Favourite pub to have a beer in?
Well, as people know me, I like my beer. I think there's a number. One of my favourite beers for a while was Shropshire Gold, which was served by the Crown. It's a really nice beer. I love the Shropshire Gold. I really like the Leopard. It's the nearest one to us, as we live in Stapley at that end of the town, so we walk that way. I like the Jules beers that they serve. Good beers they are, and they generally keep them well. And the Vine, we like the Vine as well. They serve some nice ales in there. So I'd say probably those are the 3 more regular haunts that we'll go for, because
I won't force you to pick just one. Don't you worry.
They're all level.
The last question is hidden gem in Nantwich. What's your favourite? What would you say if someone was coming to Nantwich? We're going to take you to this place, or you've got to see this place. What's your hidden gem?
Oh, hidden gem. I love you've got coffee shops galore in Nantwich, but I love the particular one because of what it represents to our family. It's Bear and Boost, because it's part of the Running Bear business, which my son is an athlete, and he runs regularly. He's now at Birmingham University running. He's run for Cheshire. He's run at national level, and one of his first jobs was in Running Bear.
Great.
to help people. And when they launched the coffee shop above it, it was like, oh wow! And you look on the staircases and on there, and all the walls where they've got medals and pictures of like my son's pictures is on one of them, because it looks like a shop from the outside. Well, it is a shop from the outside. You don't know there's a coffee shop there. And it is it's literally hidden away. But it's a lovely little coffee shop, and they serve great cakes, drinks are top, and it's a really nice atmosphere. And there's fantastic coffee shops in town. There's so much choice, but that's one of my favourites. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very, very much, Pete. It's been so lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much for being my first guest on the Twitch.
Number 1.
And it's just long may the newspaper continue, and of course everything you do for the town to help Nantwich flourish. I think that's what we're all here to do, isn't it?
I agree.
The small town with the big buzz.
And I do like that catchline, and I agree. And like you, we just do our little bit to try and create that lovely atmosphere, that community feel. And long may it continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.